In this video, I'm going to show you how to make these custom felt patches. The whole thing starts out with a design pattern. You can find clip art images online for free, or you can draw your own, which is what I did here. Once you have your design all sketched out, flip it over and take a dark pencil and color all over the back of it. You can then lay this on the felt sheet, and using a blunt object you can trace the image and it will transfer a light version of it onto the felt that you can then go back over with your pencil and straighten back up and darken out again. Then it's time to embroider. You'll need your embroidery hoop. It just pops apart like this. The outer part loosens up so you can pop the inner part out. Place your felt sheet on the inner hoop and then place the outer hoop back over top of it again. Pull on the edges of the felt to make it tight. It should be tight like a drum when you get it all stretched out, and then just tighten the little screw back up to lock it in place. Then your embroidery needle should be one like this that has a large eye at one end to fit the embroidery floss in, but it also should have a fairly sharp point so that you can make it all the way through the fabric. Cut a piece of embroidery thread about the length of your arm. That will ensure that it isn't too long and getting tangled and in your way. And thread it onto your needle. You'll then need to knot the end of it, and what I do is just tie a simple knot and then tie another knot right on top of that same knot. And this will make sure that the thread doesn't pull through the back of the fabric. Then I use two basic embroidery stitches for this. The first is a split stitch, and you use this to do your outlines and any of the small detail lines that you need to do. To do the split stitch, you basically just come from the back of the fabric up through and then back down through the front to create a stitch. And then your next stitch that you create, you'll go a little distance away from the last stitch that you made to come up through the fabric, and then when you go back down through, you go through the threads of the stitch and split those threads, and it kind of holds them in place and makes sure that they stay together. So you use this stitch for any of the fine details, like in this I'm using it for the antenna of the bee, and I'll use it for the legs and the outline and even the letters for the message written at the bottom. Now to fill in the larger areas, I use something called a satin stitch. And to do the satin stitch, you'll just come from the back of the fabric up through the top, and you'll go from one side of the area that you want to fill to the other. So I started at one edge, and then take the thread all the way across to the other edge, and just keep making long stitches like this that will fill in, kind of block in the color of the area. And those are the two basic stitches for this. Now you can use all kinds of fancy embroidery stitches if you want. I find that these are the easiest ones for the type of look that I'm going for. Now once you get to the end of your thread, or you've finished with a collar and you want to fasten off, what I do is just take the thread on the back and just go underneath the stitches that have been there a couple of times, that are already there, just go underneath them a couple times, just to kind of lock it in place. All this is going to get locked down with adhesive later, so you'll see that. So then you just continue filling in all the colors of your patch using your satin stitch, and then outline your figure with your split stitch. And once you have your patch fully embroidered, you'll take it out of your hoop and cut it out of the fabric. I like to leave about 1/8 of an inch border around the edge, and you'll see why here in a second. But once you get it all cut out, what I like to do is finish off the edge. Now you can certainly sew this on or attach it to whatever as is without any kind of like finished edge, but I like to finish the edge off with an additional satin stitch. So to start this, I just put it through, loosely put it through the back of the fabric, through some of the threads of the back, not all the way through to the front side, just to kind of catch it and hold it in place. Then you're going to wrap it around the edge from back to front and go down through the top of the fabric and create kind of a loop of thread around the entire perimeter of the patch, as you see here. And once you're completely around your perimeter, just fasten off by going to the back side and sticking your needle underneath some of those loops, and then just trim off your thread. And there's your patch. Now if you want to turn this into an iron-on patch, you'll need some iron-on adhesive. What I have here is called Heat and Bond, but any kind will work as long as it's permanent and for patches. Just place your patch on it and cut out a piece that is approximately the size of your patch. Now it has a rough side and then a slick paper side. You're going to put your patch face down. I like to put it on a scrap piece of paper to protect my surface. Then put the rough side down and the paper side up on the back of the patch. Then take your iron and just iron it on. It just takes a couple seconds. I like to do 2 seconds and then slide over a half an inch or so and do 2 more seconds until I have the entire back of the patch heated up. Once it's cool, you'll see why I put the scrap paper down here. The excess glue would have ruined my surface there if I hadn't. But once you have your patch ironed on and it's cooled, you can take your scissors then and trim off all of the excess adhesive around the sides. Be careful not to cut your patch. Then just peel off the paper backing. And you see all of my ends of thread have been trapped there underneath that adhesive so that they won't come out. And I'm going to iron this onto a shirt as like a lapel patch. To do that, I simply mark an imaginary line from the shoulder down and from the armpit over, and that kind of gives me the area where the patch needs to be. And then I iron it on. Now for this adhesive, it takes a medium heat iron with no steam. You'll use a dry iron for this. And just make sure you get it nice and hot, making sure you get all the edges so they don't come up. And there you go. There's your final product.